For my birthday this year, I decided to make myself a costume I had always wanted to own, Star Guardian Soraka from League of Legends. Today I will not be showing you how I made the full costume, as I am still in the process of finishing it, but instead will be focusing on how I made her gigantic wings. Now, wings can be a hard thing to make look good in a costume, as mimicking a bird wing can be a challenge. In all honesty, wings are something I actively try to avoid as a cosplayer, but I love this design and the wings aren't an element I can skip. So to begin making my wings, I made a wire frame by twisting 2 lengths of wire together. Now, you can do this much faster with a drill, but I didn't know where my drill was, and it was going to take me longer to find it than it was to twist the wire with my hands. Once it was twisted, I bent it into this shape. The loop in the middle is important so it can be slotted into the skirt with ease later on. I then covered the wire in masking tape so it's not cold on the skin and also so the plastic is easier to adhere in a bit. My quality control manager then came to check out my work. She said the quality was good, so I finished covering it with masking tape, and then checked it was the right shape, which was sort of hugging my legs. Once I was happy with the shape, it was time for the foam. Now, I got asked so much, what is the plastic called? So basically, it is a polyethylene foam. I got one meant for packaging, which you might need to search under jiffy foam. Otherwise, you might find it in a hardware store as it is often used underneath laminate flooring. Now, I struggled finding this in a small amount, so just ordered a big old roll from Jeff Bezos himself. To start, I then cut a base to build onto from said plastic wrap. I found the easiest way to cut it was with ye old craft knife, and this is what the bases looked like. I then began to freehand cut a load of feathers. I tried to vary the size and style, so once they were adhered to the wing, it would hopefully give a bit more of a natural look. This was not enough. I was going to cut so many during this entire process. Then I needed to cover the frame with those bases I made, so got out my nasty glue gun and began adhering all the plastic to the masked wire. Oh, and I ran out of hot glue, so very fast I went to go and get some more. After my glue-based side quest, I finished gluing the bases on and made sure I was happy with how everything was looking. As I was happy, I began gluing on the individual feathers with hot glue. And yeah, I burnt my finger on the glue. As you can see though, the hot glue is very much permanent. However, initially I was having issues with the glue just making holes as it was far too hot. I decided to use some Universal, and real talk, does this work on anything but paper? This is the Save for School formula, and the few feathers I used with this never cured even after many days. So ignore this whole section, don't use this glue. I'll explain how I got the hot glue to work in a moment. Because my quality control manager came back, she needed to make sure I was making all of the feathers properly. Anyway, I discovered the trick with the hot glue was to just keep it at its lowest melting point, which for my stupid little glue gun, I had to keep turning it on and off. But if you have one with a variable heat control, you can just keep it low and it will work great. Once I had worked out optimal glue temperature, I started to get through feather application pretty fast. I always made sure I was working from the bottom to the top of the wing. Soraka's wings have different sections, so I made these as separate pieces and glued them onto the main piece of the wing. These pieces don't contain wire, and I just laid the feathers on the same way as the main piece, bottom to top. With this new section, I made sure I hadn't applied feathers all the way up the base yet, so I could blend both sections together for a more seamless look. Also, I was having to cut more feathers so often so that I could cover the wings, but at this point, I could cut them out pretty fast. Once all the feathers were applied on one side, I needed to do the reverse. I didn't want to apply another base again, as I felt this would be too bulky, so just glued a plastic strip over the wire instead. Once the plastic strip was on over the wire, I could start applying all the feathers to this side as well. A good technique I found was to apply feathers more densely over the wire compared to the rest of the wing to help hide the wire. I then had one final pair of additional sections to cover in feathers and add onto the main wing base. Were on, I could finally blend them into the top part of the wing, and with that, I was done. I'm so happy with how these wings turned out. They are super light to wear and visually have such a graceful look to them. If you are interested, I spent about £12 on I believe 20 meters of the plastic I used, which I must have used maximum half of the roll, and then £6 on 14 hot glue sticks, which I used all of. I already had my wire and tape, so spent £18 total, though if you bought everything new, I reckon you could do this in less than £25. I also very much achieved my goal of these being very easy to insert into a garment, and in addition, they are quite flexible and posable still. Next week, I should be ready to share the rest of the construction on this cosplay. Otherwise, I hope this video was helpful in aiding you to make some cosplay wings for yourself.